There are three factors that affect roasting time. That would be the weight of the roast, the temperature of the roast, and whether the roast has a bone or is boneless. The weight of the roast will affect cooking time. The larger the roast, the more cooking time. And there are charts online, and I'll share one on my website for you. So check out honeypiesrecipes.com to see that. But you want to look at the weight of the roast, and then you have to look at how many minutes per pound you're going to cook that roast in order to achieve the internal temperature you want. What the internal temperature is whether it's rare, medium, or well done. And all of those times are on charts. You're looking for somewhere around 120 to 25. For rare, somewhere around 130 to 135 for medium rare, 145 for medium, and 165 for well done. And then anything after that, quite frankly, is a hockey puck. The temperature of the roast is the next factor. If you're taking the roast immediately from the refrigerator to the oven, it's going to take a little bit longer to cook. The heat from the oven is not going to be able to reach the roast immediately because all that cold air is radiating off the roast. If you take the roast out of the refrigerator and let it sit for a couple of hours, it warms up a little bit. And there isn't that fight in the oven between the cold air and the hot air. And you will get a more evenly cooked roast. The final factor that affects cooking time is whether it has a bone in it or it's boneless. The bone in, that takes a longer cooking time. That bone is a solid mass. It's quite cold. Even if you let the roast sit at room temperature for a while, the bone is still going to retain quite a bit of the chill. So you're going to need a longer cooking time. And the charts that I had mentioned before, they do give times per pound for bone in and boneless. So that information is available to you. With a boneless roast, cooking time is shorter and carving is easier. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. The bone-in roast tends to be a little juicy and you're getting some of the flavor from the cartilage and in the bone. The boneless roast has its advantages in that it's easier to carve, particularly like a leg of lamb. A leg of lamb has a bone that goes through the middle, unlike a prime rib that has the bones on the outside, and you can just cut those off. A bone-in leg of lamb has a bone that goes through the center, and it's not straight. It comes to a certain point and it turns. So you can't see that, and you really can't feel it because you're working with a hot roast when you're trying to carve. So it's a little more awkward to work with. So a boneless leg of lamb is much easier to cut and more attractive looking on a platter. One little secret that I can tell you is if you're going to do a prime rib and you want the bones, I mean, they're great to gnaw on after, keep them as a treat. Have your butcher remove the bones from the roast and then tie it back on so that you can cook them together, but when you go to slice, you don't have to take it off the bone. Once you take the roast out of the oven, just break those ties and they separate very easily, and you've got a delicious bone-on roast that you didn't have to debone yourself.